Ayn Ghazal was a Palestinian Arab village located 21 kilometers south of Haifa, depopulated during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War as a result of an Israeli military assault during Operation Shota. The village was then completely destroyed, incorporated into the State of Israel. It is now mostly a forested area. The Israeli moshav of Ofer was established in 1950 on part of the former village's lands. Ayn Ghazal, a moshav established in 1949, lies just adjacent, its name being the Hebrew translation of Ayn Ghazal. History. Under Ottoman rule, like much of the rest of Palestine in the late 19th century, Ayn Ghazal was described as a small village built of stone and mud, with about 450 residents. The villagers cultivated 35 fadans of land. In the early 20th century, the number of inhabitants was given as 883, and a mosque and a school in the village was noted by travelers. Much of the land in the Ayn Ghazal and the neighboring villages of Jaba, Kubiza, Tira, and Sarafand was owned by the sons of Abdul al-Latif al-Salah, who himself owned the entire village of Jira. All these villages became entirely dependent upon the Salah family because of loans they took from them or as a result of the family's commercial activities. Ayn Ghazal had two schools, an elementary school for boys founded by the Ottomans in 1886, and an elementary school for girls. The village also had a cultural club and an athletic club. The villagers were Muslim, and they maintained a shrine for a local sage named Sheikh Shahada. British Mandate era. In the 1922 census of Palestine, conducted by the British Mandate authorities, Ayn Ghazal had a population of 1,046, all Muslims, increasing in the 1931 census to 1,439, still all Muslims, in 247 houses. In 1945 the population was 2,170, all Arabs, and it had a total of 18,079 dunams of land according to an official land and population survey. 1,486 dunams were for plantations and irrigable land, 8,472 for cereals, while 130 dunams were built-up land. 1948 and aftermath. When the conflict started, the village was poorly armed. Israeli intelligence estimated the village arsenal at a total of 87 weapons by mid-1947, including 23 obsolete rifles and 45 pistols. The November 1947 United Nations partition plan for Palestine allocated Ayn Ghazal and other Arab villages in the Haifa district of Mandate, Palestine to the proposed Jewish state, which alongside the Arab state, was to be established upon termination of the British Mandate, scheduled for May 15, 1948. Ayn Ghazal and the neighboring village of Ayn Hord were attacked on the evening of April 11, 1948, according to the Palestinian newspaper Filastin, who reported that a group of 150 Jewish troops were unsuccessful in driving out the inhabitants. Arab states responded to Israel's declaration of independence on May 15, 1948 by sending in Arab troops, kicking off the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. On May 20, the Associated Press reported that another attack on Ayn Ghazal and Ayn Hord had been thwarted. In early June 1948, an Israel Defense Forces report shows that Ayn Ghazal, together with ISAM and JABA, were asking the IDF to open negotiation for surrender. Nothing resulted from the request. On the 14th of July, before the second truce of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, the Israeli cabinet discussed the three villages in the Little Triangle. Ben-Gurion said that there was no need to hurry. These villages are in our pocket. We can act against them also after the truce. This will be a police action. They are not regarded as enemy forces, as their area is ours and they are not inhabitants of the state. These villages do not represent a military danger. The second truce, beginning on the 18th of July, was not violated by the villages. According to Meron Benvenister, IDF actions over the course of the second truce were concentrated on cleansing small clusters of Arab villages located in strategic areas. Ayn Ghazal was depopulated along with two other villages located on the western slopes of the Carmel Mountains between July 24 and 26. A week after the start of the truce, Israel undertook Operation Shota with the aim of conquering the Little Triangle villages. The operation was executed by a combination of brigades from the Israel Defense Forces and the military police. On July 25, street fighting was reported from Ayn Ghazal and Jaba. On the morning of the next day, the villages were found deserted. Ayn Ghazal was one of dozens of Palestinian villages subjected to aerial bombardment after the IDF managed to procure B-17 bombers and fighter planes from the European and American black markets during the first truce. Saleh Abdel-Jawad writes that in addition to loss of civilian life, the air raid spread widespread demoralization due to its indiscriminate character, and because Palestinians who had never experienced aerial bombardment before had no defenses against it. Quote, Azam Pasha, the Secretary-General of the Arab League, issued a statement alleging that atrocities were committed during and after the attacks. In particular, it was stated that 28 people from Al-Tira were burnt alive. The IDF rejected these allegations but admitted that the soldiers had found 25 to 30 bodies at Ayn Ghazal in an advanced state of decomposition, and that the soldiers made prisoners buried the remains. The IDF also buried about 200 bodies found in the three villages after the battle. On July 28, a United Nations observer visited the area and found, according to Folk.Burner, no evidence to support claims of massacre. Quote, in early August 1948, neighboring Jewish settlers arrived in carts and looted Ayn Ghazal and Jaba. In mid-September 1948, UN investigators placed the number of killed and missing in the three villages at 130. Bernard condemned Israel's systematic destruction of Ayn Ghazal and Jaba, and asked that the Israeli government restore at its own expense all houses damaged or destroyed during and after the attack. Bernard said that a total of 8,000 people had been driven out of the three villages, and demanded that they be allowed to return. However, Israel rejected these demands. One of a number of Palestinian villages that was completely obliterated and then reforested by Israeli authorities, Ayn Ghazal, like Mujadal, Marlal, and Miar, was planted with cypress trees. Ayn Ayala is an Israeli moshav established in 1949 3 kilometers southeast of the village site. Benny Morris writes that it is on village land. However, Walid Khalidi writes that this is not correct. According to Khalidi, the settlement of Ofer is on village land, established in 1952 kilometers southeast of the built-up portion of the village. Describing the village remains in 1992, Khalidi writes, the dilapidated shrine of Sheikh Shahada is the only standing structure on the village site. Ruins of walls and piles of stones can be seen all over the site, as well as stands of pine, cactus, and fig and pomegranate trees. The site has recently been fenced in for use as a grazing area. The flat lands around it are also used for growing vegetables, bananas, and other types of fruit. Parts of the slopes are planted with almond trees. Zokro, an Israeli Jewish organization that aims to raise awareness of the Nakba, has produced a booklet on Ayn Ghazal and organized tours to the site of the destroyed village. The booklet was produced in collaboration with Ali Hammoud, an internally displaced Palestinian refugee from Ayn Ghazal, who currently lives in Faridas. Hundreds of copies of the booklet were distributed by Hammoud, and a village school in Faridas uses the booklet during class trips to Ayn Ghazal to educate students on its history. Bibliography.